Forget everything you know about standard motorcycles. What happens when brilliant engineers look at the strict laws of physics and decide to completely ignore them? You get rolling death traps. Today we are opening the forbidden archives to uncover the 10 most bizarre and dangerous motorcycles ever created in history. From a terrifying machine with a spinning aircraft engine inside its front wheel, to a tiny scooter dropping from the sky with a massive anti-tank weapon. Make sure you watch until the very end to see a mind-blowing V8 monster, and hit that subscribe button right now. Let us take a journey back to 1920s Germany, where the Mogola challenged everything we knew about physics. Imagine taking a 5-cylinder, air-cooled radial aircraft engine and shoving it directly into the front wheel of a motorcycle. There is no transmission, and even more insanely, there is zero clutch. The crankshaft is completely stationary, while the 5 cylinders rotate along with the front wheel. This created an absolute mechanical nightmare for anyone brave enough to ride it. Because it lacked a clutch, this machine could never idle while standing still. If you approached a red light at a busy intersection in Munich, you had exactly 2 choices. You could completely kill the engine and painstakingly push start it again, or you could drive in dizzying circles in the middle of the street until the light turned green. It was a terrifying death trap that demanded absolute physical endurance and raw courage from its rider just to survive. Despite its obvious flaws, nearly 2,000 of these bizarre machines were built during that era of mechanical obsession. Today, it is estimated that only 10 to 15 original Mogolas still exist anywhere in the world. They have transformed from terrifying street machines into highly coveted holy grails of engineering history. Whenever one surfaces at a private auction, it commands prices well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, standing as a testament to pure, unhinged mechanical ambition. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in 1920s, American engineer Carl Nerischer was tackling a completely different fear, which was the dangerous high center of gravity. He created the Nera car. It featured a ridiculously low stance, a stamped steel unibody chassis, and pioneered a revolutionary hub-center steering system for the front wheel. Unlike traditional forks, this design provided so much stability that you could confidently take your hands off the handlebars while riding over the terrible dirt roads. However, the American motorcycle community initially laughed at this bizarre creation. They looked at its fully enclosed bodywork and unusually low profile, dismissing it as a fragile and weak toy rather than a real motorcycle. To completely destroy this public doubt, legendary endurance rider Erwin "Cannonball" Baker did the unthinkable in 1922. He piloted a Nera car entirely across the United States, driving from New York to Los Angeles in just 174 grueling hours. Surviving thousands of miles of brutal, unpaved American trails was no small feat for any vehicle at that time. Baker proved to the world that Nerischer's unusual design was not just a strange experiment, but a durable and incredibly stable machine. Although the company eventually folded, the hub-center steering concept never truly died. It remains a brilliant engineering solution that was decades ahead of its time, completely redefining how we understand motorcycle balance, safety, and modern weight distribution. Moving back to Europe, the Bummerland emerged as a massive insult to every known rule of vehicle proportion and design. Created by Albin Liebisch, this monstrous machine holds the absolute record as the longest production motorcycle in history. Unlike anything else on the road, it was specifically engineered to carry up to 4 passengers simultaneously. Navigating this absurdly long wheelbase through the tight, twisting European cobblestone streets felt exactly like trying to steer a massive freight train through a narrow alleyway. Liebisch was a visionary who utilized solid cast aluminum wheels, a technology that was literally decades ahead of mainstream automotive manufacturing. However, his placement of the fuel system was completely terrifying. He mounted 2 exposed fuel tanks right on the rear flanks of the motorcycle. For the passengers sitting in the back, this meant they were constantly riding alongside 2 highly explosive ticking time bombs, completely unprotected from any side impact or a potential spark from the massive roaring engine block. Despite the obvious and terrifying safety hazards, The Boomerland was a fascinating solution for large families needing cheap transportation during severe economic hardships. It was tough, incredibly loud, and painted in highly visible yellow and red color schemes. Today, witnessing a surviving Boomerland on the road is a surreal experience. It serves as a beautiful, ridiculous reminder of an era where practical family transport meant strapping everyone onto a single, massively stretched steel frame with highly exposed explosive fuel tanks. In the devastating aftermath of World War II, the German manufacturing industry faced a critical shortage of raw materials. Steel was rarer than gold. Under these brutal conditions, engineer Norbert Riedel created the IMI R100. If you look closely at the rear of this motorcycle, you will immediately notice something incredibly strange. It appears to be missing a crucial component entirely. Riedel had to conserve every single ounce of metal, which led to a stroke of absolute survival genius. Riedel eliminated the traditional dual shock setup and designed a brilliant single-sided swing arm to connect the rear wheel to the main frame. But here is the unbelievable part. That very same hollow metal tube also functioned as the exhaust pipe. This single piece of steel was forced to carry the entire weight of the rider while simultaneously venting hot, toxic engine gases. It was a masterpiece of doing more with less, born entirely from absolute post-war industrial desperation. This extreme material optimization did not stop at the exhaust. The IMI R100 also featured a single-sided front fork, making the entire motorcycle look incredibly asymmetrical and frail. Yet it worked flawlessly. Thousands were sold to a recovering nation that desperately needed cheap mobility. This weird little machine proves that true engineering brilliance often does not come from having unlimited corporate budgets, but from facing absolute extreme scarcity and finding a way to make one pipe do absolutely everything. While the Germans were saving steel, the Americans were chasing absolute traction with the Rokon Trailbreaker. Introduced in the 1960s, this machine completely ignores high speeds to focus purely on wilderness survival. It features a true two-wheel drive system. To deliver power to the front wheel while allowing the suspension to steer, engineers utilized a complex network of drive shafts and universal joints running directly through the main frame. It is a slow, methodical beast designed to conquer absolutely anything. Thanks to its extreme gear reduction, the pulling power of this machine is completely unlike a standard motorcycle. Instead, it possesses the stubborn, relentless brute force of a John Deere 8020 agricultural tractor. It will happily crush through deep mud, crawl over massive boulders, and climb impossibly steep inclines without breaking a single sweat. It is not built for highway cruising. It is an unstoppable mechanical mule built specifically for hunters and rugged explorers who venture deep into the American wilderness. As if the two-wheel drive system was not crazy enough, the engineers added another brilliant survival feature. The enormous hollow aluminum wheel drums can actually be used to store extra gallons of fuel or drinking water for long expeditions. Alternatively, if you leave those massive drums completely empty, the entire motorcycle becomes buoyant. You can literally float this heavy two-wheel drive tractor across deep rivers. It remains one of the ultimate off-grid survival machines ever created by man. If the Rokon was built for wilderness survival, the Vespa 150 TAP was built for absolute war. During the conflicts in Indochina and Algeria, the French military desperately needed mobile anti-tank firepower that could be dropped from the sky. Their solution was wonderfully insane. They took a standard civilian Vespa scooter, cut a massive hole straight through the front leg shield and the seat, and shoved a 75mm recoilless rifle right through the entire chassis. This flimsy, lightweight Italian scooter was suddenly forced to carry a massive 250-pound armor-piercing weapon right between the rider's legs. The initial plan required paratroopers to completely remove the heavy gun and mount it on a tripod before firing. However, in desperate, high-pressure combat situations, soldiers could theoretically fire the weapon while it was still attached to the scooter. Doing so on such a fragile frame was essentially an explosive, highly dangerous suicide mission. Dropping these fully armed scooters from aircraft via parachutes was a spectacular display of military improvisation. It turned a symbol of peaceful European romance into a highly dangerous tactical weapon delivery system. Although it was incredibly cheap to produce, the severe lack of armor meant the riders were entirely exposed to heavy enemy fire. Today, this bizarre military experiment remains a fascinating testament to the crazy, desperate lengths armies will go to when they need mobile firepower on a very tight budget. Fast forward to the modern era, where engineering weirdness is no longer about wartime survival, but rather about dominating physics through complex technology. Yamaha introduced the Niken to solve one of the greatest psychological fears every motorcyclist faces: losing front-end traction in a corner. They accomplished this by slapping two parallel wheels on the front of a powerful sport bike, utilizing a highly advanced multi-wheel Ackermann steering system. It looks exactly like a mechanical alien predator crouching menacingly on asphalt. This dual front wheel setup utilizes 4 upside-down suspension forks, allowing the entire front end to deeply lean into corners just like a traditional motorcycle, but with double the grip surface. For the rider, this translates to an almost supernatural level of confidence on wet, slippery, or gravel-covered mountain roads. You can aggressively dive into a sharp turn at high speeds, completely trusting that those twin front wheels will aggressively bite the pavement and keep you securely upright. While purists constantly argue whether the Yamaha Niken is actually a real motorcycle or just a glorified trike, there is no denying its engineering brilliance. It completely shatters the 100-year-old tradition that a motorcycle must only have one wheel in the front. By bravely bringing this extremely complex leaning 3-wheel concept into mass production, Yamaha proved that the continuous evolution of motorcycle safety and physical geometry is far from over, opening exciting new doors for future hybrid designs. While Yamaha focused on cornering grip, the Honda Valkyrie Rune was born from pure, unfiltered corporate pride. In 2004, Honda engineers went to war against their own accounting department to bring an impossible concept bike to life. They equipped this massive cruiser with a colossal 1,832 cubic centimeter flat-six engine. It was an absolute mechanical beast, covered in heavy chrome and designed to dominate the great American highways with pure, undeniable physical presence. The most shocking engineering feat on the Rune is its trailing bottom-link front suspension system. This highly complex, incredibly expensive linkage was designed strictly for visual drama and smooth highway cruising. Transforming this wild sci-fi concept into a fully legal, mass-produced road vehicle cost millions of dollars in research and development. In fact, Honda actually lost thousands of dollars on every single Rune they sold. They absorbed this massive financial loss just to prove their absolute dominance in manufacturing. The Valkyrie Rune is a rolling monument to a time when giant corporations did not strictly care about profit margins. It was a massive flex of engineering muscle, built specifically to show the world that Honda could build absolutely anything they imagined. Today, these rare heavy cruisers command massive respect and high prices on the used market. It is a massive chrome-plated middle finger to conventional motorcycle design, reminding us that sometimes looking incredibly cool is entirely worth the financial loss. But all of the Japanese technological limits look like child's play when you look at what a crazy French engineer decided to build. The Lazareth LM847 is not just a motorcycle, it is a terrifying, unguided surface missile that you literally clamp between your legs. Ludovic Lazareth took a massive 4.7-liter V8 engine straight out of a Maserati supercar and somehow managed to wrap a minimal amount of motorcycle frame completely around it. This monster produces an earth-shattering 470 horsepower. To handle this absurd level of torque, it uses a single-speed hydraulic coupling instead of a normal transmission. Because a regular tire would instantly shred, Lazareth gave it an independent, leaning 4-wheel structure. Twisting the throttle on this 880-pound beast requires massive physical strength and pure courage, as you fight raw centrifugal force just to keep it from tearing itself apart on the asphalt. Riding the Lazareth is an exercise in absolute excess. It defies all common sense, safety regulations, and practical logic. It was never meant for a daily commute or a relaxing weekend highway cruise. It exists solely to push the extreme boundaries of what a human being can physically ride. This roaring V8 monster stands as the ultimate modern testament to the insane human desire to strap massive amounts of horsepower to the smallest, most dangerous chassis physically possible. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we find the Joe Hammer J1, which represents a radically silent, non-traditional future. This fully electric machine looks exactly like a giant futuristic aluminum snail gliding silently down the street. It completely abandons the traditional telescopic forks that have dominated motorcycle design for decades. Instead, it resurrects the exact same hub-center steering system that Carl Nereker passionately defended in American courtrooms nearly 100 years ago. History repeating itself perfectly. The Joe Hammer completely ignores normal dashboard design. It has no central instrument cluster behind the handlebars. Instead, the speed, battery life, and vital statistics are digitally projected directly into the high-tech rear-view mirrors. It houses its heavy battery pack extremely low in the chassis, giving it an incredibly stable center of gravity. This weird electric insect proves that the transition away from gasoline engines is also an exciting opportunity to completely reinvent how a motorcycle should look and safely operate. As we look back at these 10 incredible machines, from the clutchless nightmare of the Magola to the high-tech silence of the Joe Hammer, we see a beautiful story of human stubbornness. These engineers refused to accept the boring, standard rules of vehicle design. Whether they were fighting the laws of physics, surviving brutal wars, or just trying to show off massive horsepower, they left behind a mechanical legacy that proves human imagination should never have any logical speed limits. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the most bizarre and wonderful motorcycles ever created, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We are constantly digging through history to bring you the greatest mechanical stories, forgotten engineering marvels, and the crazy minds behind them. Do not forget to leave a comment below telling us which of these wild machines you would actually dare to ride. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.